And now back to this Mos Eisley case full of painted West End Games Star Wars role-playing miniatures. There are over 40 West End Games minis in here, plus a few from other companies that I sort of pressed into Star Wars service, and a land speeder. Calling it Mos Eisley was sort of a catch-all. I mean, you got stuff in here from the Lars homestead, all over Tatooine in the first film, inside the cantina and outside in the streets of Mos Eisley, so yeah, it's a little bit of an umbrella term. You may notice that some characters have duplicates like those Jawas, power droids, the astromechs, etc. That doesn't mean that I bought the same 10-pack boxed sets over and over. There were 3-packs that were more army builder oriented. I don't actually recall what company made those rodents at the upper right, which were pressed into service as womp rats, but I definitely remember what company made those skeletons because I bought them for a different purpose and wound up using 2 of them, even though they're slightly out of scale as the charred remains of Owen and Beru. And here is the set that they came from. I photographed this a couple of years ago for my Ray Harryhausen / Clash of the Titans album on Facebook. Clearly, this Warhammer Skeleton Warriors set was inspired by 1963's Jason and the Argonauts. These were made by Citadel, and they are not metal miniatures, they're plastic, like a little model kit. I bought it at the local comic book shop where John Davis worked, and I customized them. I didn't use the scythes or the axes, I only used the spears and the sword. Here's something ironic. In the movie, only 7 skeletons are in that scene. But I made 9 because I wanted to do scene-specific moments, like when one of them gets its head cut off. When I took them out of storage to photograph them a couple of years ago, 7 of them were intact and 2 of them had broken. So I had to spend a little time re-gluing parts. So 9 for the Children of the Hydra's teeth, 2 for Owen and Beru, but a box of 12? What happened to number 12? Well, I found him too. For whatever reason, I never finished this guy. I even cut a weapon out of his hand to give to somebody else, it looks like. But he is a very good illustration of my painting technique at the time, which was to paint them black first and build up the other colors as dry brush. That meant he already had eye sockets, he already had teeth, he already had ribs. I also used that technique when making this Krayt dragon out of a Ray Harryhausen vinyl doll of the dragon from 1958's Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. I'd like to add here that while working on this video, I had an autocorrect typo that spelled it Kraut Dragon instead of Krayt Dragon. This frame grab comes from a video entitled 3PO's Thanatopsis, part of my Making Whoever Dies with Most Toys Wins playlist. I shot that about 6 months ago, and I actually uncrated the Krayt on camera for the first time in a longo timeo. And this is another good place to leave myself a reminder to find those pictures from my 1995 trip to Wonderfest in Louisville, Kentucky, where I met not only Bob Burns and Chris Wallace, but I shook hands with Ray Harryhausen. One vinyl doll that doesn't hang out with the rest of the Harryhausen stuff is this statue of Kali, who is actually from 1973's Golden Voyage of Sinbad. I originally paired her with my Indiana Jones toys 20 plus years ago because those are the steps outside my old house. And the Indy figure is a Disney Park exclusive. Now he's a little bit taller, but I think she pairs even better with these figures that Hasbro brought out when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was in theaters. There's also this guy known as the Minotaur, and I saw this caption the other day that I had written a couple of years ago that really cracked me up. I'm going to let you freeze frame and read it. This isn't personally mine, but I did see it just the other day, so I found it interesting, the timing of it. This is when you walk in the door at Herald Printing downtown here in Florence, and these are not vinyl dolls. These are 3D prints. So the guy that works there named Dean printed and painted, and the backdrop are frames from the movie that he digitally painted out the characters and then printed. So I felt a certain kinship to this guy. I could see why he's friends with John Gibbons too. So I thank you for indulging me in that tangent. Now let's get back to Mos Eisley. In 1978, my very first 2 Star Wars Kenner action figures were R2 and 3PO. So we'll start there. Just so you can see the scale of these things, I've added a quarter into the shot. Big thank you to the helpful Jawa who's standing behind it. You may very well wonder, where's the dry brush? Well, I had thought perhaps I would someday revisit Whoever Dies with Most Toys Wins, and I wanted to have little figures for wide establishing shots who would intercut with the Kenner figures. So some of them I painted like Kenner, and some of them I painted realistic like the movies. R2 and 3PO here are sort of a hybrid between those 2 aesthetics. I don't recall the sculpting team of Bob and Julie doing this with any other characters, but they specifically designed R2 and 3PO to display well together by putting this little cookie bite notch in R2's base. That notch allowed them to dovetail together and stand closer than most of the other figurines could. Here's their obverse, and here's a side view. Whoops, I've gotten the file too big, so I'm going to have to go ahead and stop it here, upload it, delete it, etc. I'll see you guys in the next installment. Thanks for watching.